Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Eternal Tournament series. We got an exciting matchup for today. It is Xenon Control and SirRhino against childroland Sky Crag Aggro. And I'm pretty excited about this one. There's a lot of cool stuff going on in both players' decks, and there's going to be, I think it should be a pretty fun matchup.
Yeah, a little bit of deja vu here with the Xenon list, but now we have Angry Chicken has transformed into a Skycrag player. um, it's going to be an interesting matchup here because Xenon has a lot of the early game tools that can be really frustrating for Skycrag to get past. Just so much strong single target anti aggro, as well as ways to get through Aegis and ways to just deal with like remove and deal with the blockers. But if SirRhino is unable to stop that, it's going to be really hard for him to kind of stop the Skycrag train once it gets going.
Yeah, and Roland's deck is really kind of an interesting version of the list. He's got Cloud Snake Harriers in here to up the damage on his torches and to just sort of push across damage in the air. He has no less than 7 different ways to generate the Steel Fang Chakram, the worst best Skycrag Row card. It's going to be pretty ridiculous in terms of the late game because you'll be able to play those cards over and over and over again. If the Xenon control deck doesn't have a good way to deal with that, then every small unit is going to be a threat, and every Aegis unit is going to be very, very scary. And of course, there's the Soulfire Drakes for the late game, but most likely what Roland's really going to be pushing for is to try and steal a win early off of the Xenon control list. If he can't
Absolutely.
manage against the Ions, then he's going to have a harder time against the rest of it.
Yeah, and it looks like our match has started. Roland opts to redraw and get a much more aggressive hand. Actually, that redraw worked out really well for him. And so looks like he's gonna swing, and he might opt to rampage here, but he's gonna do that or play the Bracano Outlaw. And yeah, he's pausing for a second, which means he's gonna just go with the Bracano Outlaw. He did just give a little bit of information there, so he might have opted to play the card first before swinging, but it's not going to be too big a deal here. Meanwhile, on SirRhino's side, he's only got a banish return 3, and that's it. And otherwise, he's stuck on power.
Yeah, Rhino throwing the Vara's Choice out to sort of disrupt Child Roland's buttery smooth curve, but a Champion of Fury comes out of the draw, and that means that
Oh,
we now have 7 damage on the field for Rhino. That's really, really rough to see, especially with the Vara's Choice like being such a good pick for him at that point. It would have very much disrupted Roland's turn if it weren't for the fact that basically, yeah, all of this very, very bad stuff is happening.
oh no! And he gets a Warfang or a Warcried Steel Fang Chakram off the top of the deck. A little bit of a tongue twister there. Opts not to play it. It's being scared of banish. Actually, probably the correct play there. So now he's going to be able to drop Crimson Firemaw, and then have the Chakram up for next turn.
Yeah, it was either a Banish or an Ion the Abductor. Attacking in with a 2/2 against an Ion the Abductor would have been pretty rough, but he did have the Rampage there, so he definitely chose the right path because he knew that there was something there. And now he's
Yes.
got a Steel Fang Chakram on a little guy, he's got a very, very big guy, and Rhino's got a lot to deal with for really not much in his hand. Second banish, so
Yeah, he
that's going
gets
to
a
put the
second.
Steel Fang Chakram back into Roland's hand. But now Roland has a 5/4, and Rhino's sitting on a bunch of 4, 5, and 6 drops.
He's going to draw the Sandstorm Titan, but Roland has a plethora of ways to get past this. Gets the Plower so that he can obliterate right here if he chooses to, or just rampage through. I think he's going to probably opt for the obliterate here, but I don't think he would be wrong for just wanting to put the Chakram on and swinging. Well, actually, no, that would get rid of his only unit. So yeah, he's going to opt for the obliterate.
Yeah, the Obliterate's very
Going
good
to reduce
here.
the cost of another card on top of the deck. Sorry about that.
Got a lot of things going on. He can, if he draws a 5th power, stray into Shadow, but if he doesn't find the right answer here, then he doesn't have the power to get to his big stuff. That means that Roland's just going to be able to push through and win the game. So Rhino concedes first match, and we're going to go into sideboards and see if he can find a little bit better answers to the Skycracker.
Yeah, that was a very good start from the Skycrag deck right there. Just a really good showing of what it can do.
Liked Rhino's options for stray into Shadow against that 4/5. He basically forced Roland into a situation where he was going to lose one unit or the other. The Banish got rid of the Steel Fang Chakram unit, and then Rhino would have been able to actually stray because that Crimson Fire Mod does have 4 health, but he didn't draw the power. So you miss a step, you're dead against Skycragro, and that was all it took.
Yep, just didn't get there. Looking at the sideboards right now, I can't imagine that SirRhino doesn't bring in probably the Devoted Theurges, probably another Stray in the Shadow, and then maybe even some of the Boros choices as well, as those silences can be a little bit harsh on the Skycrag deck. Notably absent from the list is any Xenon initiations, which is probably a little bit hard for him to. It's going to make it difficult to get past the Vadiuses if they're able to get really big.
Yeah, it's hard to stick a unit with a Xenon initiation in the first place. You have to play against the torches. You have to play against basically any sort of stuff where if you're setting down a unit and then you're trying to Xenon initiation it next turn, the Skycrag deck is not likely to truck with that for any amount of time. So it is difficult as a sideboard choice. Rhino's lists is probably just going to run in the Theurges, basically run the curve down as low as possible. He's not going to be looking for those Mystic Ascendants or Champion of Mysteries at the top. He's going to be looking for basically early defense and then push with Sandstorm Titans and all of his removal to sort of finish out the game. However, if he cuts too much in terms of his late game value, he might have some issues dealing with those chakrams in the late game. And that's sort of the interesting part of Roland's list, is that if he actually gets those chakrams down, then those are cards that Rhino really doesn't have great answers for. He can silence the chakram through Vara's choice if he silences it on the board, but that's the only way to actually hit the chakram and stop it from turning every card into a threat.
Yes, definitely. Looking at the game right now, Roland actually does have the Vadiuses that we were just talking about. Draws a Champion of Fury off the top, and he's stuck with a little bit of a hard decision here. Looks like he's going to be opting to play the Vadius and save the Champion of Fury for next turn. Which I do like that play. I think in this scenario, you want to just get Vadius down as soon as possible, since that's really hard for the Xenon player to deal with.
In the meantime, holding on to a Banish, he has the option to get rid of something there, but it's not going to be exceptionally helpful for him. He's basically just looking for ways to deal with these early threats, and if he can find them, he's definitely going to be in pretty good shape. He is going to get his 4-drops out, and he has Eye on the Abductor, but he can't play it immediately, so it's going to be a bit of a rough time because he needs that double shadow.
Yeah. On the other hand, Roland doesn't have any real answers to Sandstorm Titan right now, and it looks like SirRhino does have one in hand. So he's going to need to hopefully rip something really soon to be able to deal with that. Otherwise, all of his small units are going to be stopped, which won't completely stop his aggression, since he does have just a lot of action going on in his hand. But that Permafrost is really not going to do anything for him once he drops Sandstorm Titan, presumably next turn. Looks like he goes for the Vara's choice on the Reclaimed Outlaw.
Yeah, he's forced to throw it onto a unit on the battlefield, which is something he really doesn't want to do here, because that just means that Roland never really runs out of threats, and Rhino is now a card down in a situation where he really would prefer not to be. However, it's more important to affect board than it is to affect hand in these situations, just because his deck is more likely to have the late game advantage. So he's just trying to stay alive. He takes a good 7 damage there. He's at 17 now, and he'll be able to play Steward of the Past and Sandstorm Titan, but cards like Permafrost and Obliterate can answer those, so whatever he opts for is going to be pretty tricky here.
Yeah. He goes for the Steward of the Past first, which is interesting there. I wonder if he's trying to play around Polymorph. It's not going to work out for him, because now Roland's going to get to keep swinging in. It also looks like he draws a big Steel Fang Chakram off the top of the deck.
Stake against Skycragro to play for value, and he did in fact play his least threatening unit first with the expectation that the biggest unit might get killed, and Roland actually has the Polymorph. He got that from the side.
Wow.
And he drew it actually as a top deck, a really disgusting top deck. So Rhino's play, while it might have actually protected his Sandstorm Titan, does not help him here, and now he's in dire straits. There's not a lot he can do at this point.
Yes, though he does actually play 2 Polymorphs in the main board. So he did probably bring in the one. Yes, that was a very good top deck for him. However, Roland again still having a lot of action in hand, Cloudsnake Carrier and a second Vadius to keep the attacks coming. And this is
sitting on 2 Obliterates, which means that Rhino's in so much trouble at this point. Like, like it's really, really tough here. If Roland draws to 5, Rhino will have to have recovered essentially like 6, 7 health off of the Eye and the Abductor before the Obliterates come down. And even then, they're going to be pretty devastating. I think Roland's got this game pretty well handled, but there's a possibility that Rhino can come back if he gets a very good sequence of draws.
Yeah, a very, very small chance. I do think that Roland made the right play by playing the Vadius, the second Vadius, as opposed to the Cloud Snake Harrier, because that means that he's more or less immune to any Aeons in hand.
Yep. There's just no way that he's going to get hit by Aeon. He has everything set up to attack in without any particular threats, and Banish is only going to hit one Vadius, while Roland is going to be continuing to set up a pretty scary board.
Yep.
Harrier's not going to be affected by Ion either. He's basically got the flying ability, so there's no way to actually ambush that. But it's still looking really, really rough, and because he's so removal-proof, there's a lot of trouble at hand.
Yep. Roland only needs to draw power. He does draw a depleted power, but that's going to make sure that he can play the Chakram next turn on either one of his units. Sees the pause, and oh, he does have the Banish in hand. I missed that. So that is going to slow him down a little bit, but all Roland now needs to do is draw any power, and he'll be able to close out this game with an Obliterate.
There is still the Steel Fang Chakram as well, which is going to force essentially some really, really bad blocks on Rhino's side. Like, all of these deadly units are not doing anything against those Chakrams, and with a Seed of Fury, Roland's going to have the Obliterates, so this won't be over this turn necessarily, but it will be over next.
Ooh, he makes a little bit of a misplay by actually putting the Chakram on the Yeti. I think he should have opted to put it on Vadius, because now, yeah, he's able to get that and clear both of his units.
Roland has a chance of taking this back, or well, Rhino has a chance of taking this back, but it's going to be really, really hard for him to do it because there's going to be Obliterate to the face, and then it's going to be an immediate follow-up and another Obliterate.
Yeah.
I don't think that Rhino has any answer to the second Obliterate, so he's just going to be able to push for 10, and that'll be game.
Yeah, slight mistake on his attacks there, but ultimately it doesn't look like it's going to matter at all. Unless he has a sabotage.
Card draw off Champion of Mystery. Vara's Favor is life gain, but it's not enough.
Not quite enough. Actually draws a Backflash. Not necessary at this point, but interesting that he did side them in. And there's the Obliterate. A quick 2-0 for Skyfang, Skycrag Chakram. Skyfang Shockcrag, as it is listed.
Pretty ridiculous setup. The Chakrams are just doing a really, really good job of creating units that are very, very threatening for Rhino. And with that happening, it's just very, very hard for Rhino to get any sort of purchase on the board.
Yeah, Roland drew extremely well both games. Not extremely out of the ordinary for a Skycrag deck, but definitely far above average. Had a really aggressive start, really great curves, all those games, and that's just oppressive for any deck to deal with, but especially the Xenon in this case, the Xenon ramp deck that's really focused on its top-end cards.
Yep. Yeah, it's just not easy to get that early game going. The Steward of the Pasts were next to useless against all of the sort of quick draw units that he had going on, all of the different ways he had to push through. And yeah, that Skycrag aggro deck definitely found a really solid purchase. So very, very solid play from them, and worked out quite well.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe we have a backup game on the line here. Oh, never mind. That is incorrect. All the matches are already over. That was actually very quick.
Fast series of round. I mean, that's actually really impressive how quickly that went, seeing as Roland and Rhino took a very quick 2-0 there. So yeah, everyone's done, and we're going to be going to another small video, and then we'll be back with another round of the Eternal Tournament Series. Stay tuned, guys.